Dear students, I am Mohinder Goswami. Today I am going to discuss with you a very beautiful story. And this beautiful story is based on the life of a prince. And it is titled as The Happy Prince. And this beautiful story we will discuss for the students of class 9th. And this beautiful story is taken from your textbook, Tulip series, and it is taken from your story section, and it is story number 5. Now students, let us begin this beautiful story. Students, we will divide this beautiful story in two different parts, and at the end of part 1, students will be able to know about the writer of the story. They will be able to know about the new words in the story. Along with this, they will be able to understand the text of part 1 of the story. And moreover, they will understand the different grammatical structures, very beautiful structure. And they will be able to apply new learning in their real life situations. Along with, they will be able to develop all kinds of skills. Dear students, this beautiful story, Happy Prince, is written by a very famous writer, Oscar Wilde. And we will divide this beautiful story into two different parts. In part 1, we will discuss how the little swallow helped the happy prince in fulfilling the needs of women and the boy. This is part 1 which we will discuss today. And in the part 2, which we will discuss later on, in that part we will discuss rest part of the story and the language work that we will meet out during these lessons. Now let's begin this beautiful story. Now students, let's begin this beautiful story with the introduction. As you know, this story is about a prince. When the prince was alive, he was very happy. And after his death, a big statue of his erected on a pedestal. Initially, the story is about a self-centered swallow who on his hunt for shelter for the night meets the statue of the happy prince as he settled down at his feet. Throughout the story, we notice the swallow helping the happy prince to distribute his jewels and gold throughout the city, making the civilians happier and healthier. While in the beginning of the story, the swallow only thought about himself. We can, we see him attracted toward the statue of the prince. Now students, let us begin this beautiful story with a text from the book. But before discussing the text from the book, let us first discuss some of the new words which we will definitely meet in this story. The first word is column. What does this word mean? A column. It means a tall pillar. Okay students? Fine. Now there is another word in this story which will be a new to you, that is a glit. What does this word mean? It means cover with a thin layer of gold. Fine students? Okay. Now there is another important word, that is sapphire. What does this mean? It means a transparent, usually bright blue precious stone. It is very precious stone, and if you look at this picture, you will see it looks like this, and it is very very precious stone. Now students, there is another word, that is alight. What does this word mean? It means to land or settle after a flight. Fine. And there is another new word to you, that is a statue. It means an object made from a hard material, especially stone or a metal. Along with these students, we have 3 more new words to you, which we will definitely discuss in part 1 of the story. And the next word is seamstress. What does this word mean? Seamstress, it means a woman who makes a living, by sewing. Okay. And another word is ball. It means a formal party for dancing. Now, students, let us discuss the text from the story. High above the city, on a tall column, stood the statue of the happy prince. He was glittered all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes he had two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword's hilt. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. His friends had gone to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. Dear friends, here in these lines, the writer explains that there was a little swallow who flew over the city where there was a statue of happy prince. His friends, whose friends I am talking about? The friends of a little swallow, right? All the friends means all the friends of a little swallow had already gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. All the day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. The whole day he flew here and there, and when the night came, he came back to the city and decided to stay over there. Dear students, the little swallow said to himself,
Where shall I put up? I hope the tone has made preparations.
Dear students, when the little swallow found no place to pass the night, he said to himself where he would put up. You know what does the word put up here means? The word put up here means to stay. Means he wanted to stay somewhere. He thought that the tone was busy in some preparation. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. Dear students, when he saw the statue on the tall column, so he cried.
I will put up there. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air.
Dear students, when he saw the statue of the happy prince on the tall column, he decided to stay there. So he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince. Dear students, he said softly to himself as he looked around and he prepared to go to sleep.
I have a golden bedroom.
Dear students, the little swallow said to himself that he had a golden bedroom to sleep on that day. Just as he was putting his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. He cried.
What a curious thing! There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, yet it is raining.
Then, students, after some time, another drop fell. Then what happened?
What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? I must look for a good chimney pot.
Dear students, when he saw that the drops of water continuously fell on him, he said to himself, what was the use of statue if it could not keep the rain off? He decided to look for a good chimney pot so that he could save himself. He determined to fly away. Before he could open his wings, a third drop fell on him, and he looked up and saw. What he see? The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and the tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. Dear students, by seeing this, the little swallow said,
Who are you?
I am the happy prince.
Why are you weeping then? You have quite drenched me.
When I was alive and had human heart, I did not know what tears were, for I lived in the palace, where sorrow is not allowed to enter. My courtiers called me the happy prince, and indeed I was so, and so I died. And now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city. Though my heart is made up of lead, yet I can't choose but weep.
What? Is he not solid gold?
Far away in a little street, there is a poorhouse. One of the window is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has a coarse red hands, all pricked by the needle, for she is a seamstress. She is embroidering flowers on a stained gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor to wear at the next court ball. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He has a fever and is asking his mother to give oranges. And his mother has nothing to give him but river water. So he is crying, "Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? My feet are fastened to this pedestal and I can't move."
I am waited for in Egypt. My friends are flying up and down the Nile and talking to the large lotus flower. Soon they will go to sleep.
Dear students, in these lines, the little swallow told the happy prince that he could not stay over there as he was waited for in Egypt. His all friends had already flown down the Nile and soon they would go to sleep. He had to go. The happy prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messengers. And the happy prince told the little swallow,
The boy is so thirsty and the mother so sad.
I don't think I like boys. I want to go to Egypt. It is very cold here.
Dear students, here in these lines, the little swallow told the happy prince that he did not think that he liked boys. He wanted to go to Egypt. It was very cold there, but later he agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. To this, the happy prince said him thanks for becoming his messenger for one night. The swallow picked up the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over the roof of the town. He passed the cathedral tower where the white marble angels were sculptured. He passed by the palace and heard the sound of dancing. A beautiful girl came out on the balcony with her lover, and she said,
I hope my dress will be ready in time for the state ball. I have ordered flowers to be embroidered on it, but the seamstresses are so lazy.
Dear students, the little swallow passed over the river. At last he came to the poor woman's house and looked in. The boy was tossing ferociously on his bed, and the mother had fallen asleep. She was so tired. He hoped and laid the great ruby on the table beside the woman's thimble. Then he flew gently round the bed, fanning the boy's forehead with his wings. To these students, the boy said to himself, "How cool I feel! I must be getting better." And he sank into the delicious slumber. Then the swallow flew back to the happy prince and told him what he had done.
It is curious, but I feel quite warm now, although it is so cold here.
You know, that is because you have done a good action.
And these are the words which Prince told the little swallow. And the little swallow began to think and then fell asleep. Thinking always made him sleepy. Dear students, after doing the work by giving ruby to that woman, he felt very happy. Although there was so much cold, but he felt quite warmness inside. To this, happy prince told him that he did a great action, and that was why he was feeling happy. The little swallow began to think, and after that he asleep because thinking always made him sleepy. Dear students, when the next day came, day broke, he flew down to the river and had a bath. Tonight I go to Egypt. He visited all the monuments, and a long time on the top of the church steeple, when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince.
Have you any commissions for Egypt? I am just starting.
Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you stay with me one night longer?
No, I am waiting for in Egypt.
Swallow, swallow, little swallow. Far away across the city, I see a young man in a garret. He is leaning over a desk covered with papers, and in the glass by his side there is a bunch of withered violets. His hair is brown and crisp, and his lips are red as a pomegranate, and he has a large dreamy eyes. He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theater, but he is too cold to write anymore. There is no fire in the grate, and hunger has made him faint.
I will wait with you one night longer.
Dear friends, the swallow had a good heart. He asked if he should take another ruby to the young playwright, and he agreed to do that and stay for one more night.
Alas, I have no ruby now. My eyes are all that I have left. They are made of rare sapphires, which were brought out of India 1,000 years ago. Pluck them out, one of them, and take it to the playwright. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy firewood and finish his play.
Dear Prince, I can't do that.
Swallow, swallow, little swallow, do as I command you.
So, students, the swallow plucked out the prince's eyes and flew away to the young man's garret. It was easy enough to get in, as there was a hole in the roof. Through this he darted and came into the room. The young man had his head buried in his hands, so he did not hear the flutter of the bird's wings. And when he looked up, he found a beautiful sapphire lying on the withered violets. After seeing, the sapphire, the boy cried, "I am beginning to be appreciated. This is from the great admirer. Now I can finish my play." Dear students, the next day the swallow flew down to the harbor. He sat on the mast of a large vessel and watched the sailor working. "I am going to Egypt," cried the swallow, but nobody minded. And when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince once again. And he said to the happy prince,
I have come to bid you goodbye.
Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not stay with me one night longer?
It is winter and the snow will soon be here. In Egypt, the sun is warm on the green palm trees, and the crocodiles lie in the mud and look lazily about them.
Dear students, we have completed the part 1 of the story, and now the rest part of the story we will discuss in part 2. Now it's time to discuss the summary of the part 1. As you know, we have discussed the Happy Prince was a beautiful statue on a tall column in the city. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. He had sapphires for eyes and a ruby on his sword hilt. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. His friends had gone away to Egypt. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived in the city. He alighted just between the feet of the statue of the happy prince. When he was trying to sleep, a few drops of water fell on him. But to his surprise, he didn't find a single cloud in the sky. Then he noticed that the statue of Happy Prince was weeping. Happy Prince told the swallow that in a house there was a poor seamstress having needle marks on her hands. Her little son was lying ill, and she had no money to buy food or other things for her son. So the prince requested the swallow to bring out the ruby of his sword hilt so that the poor woman could bring oranges for her son. After putting the ruby on the table and fanning its wings on boy's forehead, it came back to the prince. The next day, the swallow wanted to go to his friends, but Prince requested it to stay with him that night. In the night, the prince told the swallow that there was a young man in a garret. He was trying to finish a play for the director of the theatre, but he was too cold to write any more, as there was no fire in the grate and hunger had made him faint. Now the prince ordered the swallow to pluck out one sapphire from his eye and give it to him. The swallow did the same. Dear students, we will complete this beautiful story in part 2. Along with this, we will also discuss geometry and language work in part 2. Now it's time to think about the text. Let us think about the text and try to answer some of the questions that will be asked to you. Dear student, the first question that I am going to ask you is, who was the writer of the story The Happy Prince? You have already studied about this. Now student, the second question which you need to answer is, when was the writer of this story born? You just open your textbook and try to find out the answer to this. Now students, question number third, name the bird that plays an important role in the story. You know, in this story we have studied about a small bird, and you have to do what? You have to write down the name of that particular word. That which word is this? Dear students, as far as question number 4 is concerned, it is name the place where the little bird wanted to go. And this question we have already discussed in the story, that the little bird wanted to go to a different. Now students, question number 5, what is the meaning of the word column? Dear students, we have already discussed this particular word in the opening of the story, and now you have to write down the exact meaning of this particular word. Now come to the question number 6. The word sapphire means. You have to write down the meaning of the word sapphire which is used in this story. The question number 7. The word ruby means. You know, ruby word is used also in this story, and you have to tell that what does this word exactly means. Okay, fine. Now write down the meaning of this particular word. Friends, come to some few more questions. The boy is thirsty and mother so sad. Who spoke these lines? To whom? You have to just write down that who spoke these lines to whom. Now students, question number 9. I don't think I like boys. Who spoke this line? And you have to write down the name of that particular person who spoke these lines to whom. Okay, fine. Now students, long answer type question. And in long answer type question, the first question is, why do the courtiers call the prince the happy prince? We have studied this in the opening of the story, that why people used to call him the happy prince. You just write down the answer to this particular question, that why people called him so. Now students, you have to tell us that is he really happy? What does he see around him? So this is another question which you need to answer, that is the happy prince really happy? Okay, fine. Now the students, the next question, why does the happy prince send a ruby for the seamstress? What does the swallow do in the seamstress house? So this is one of the beautiful questions which you need to answer here. Now the students, the next and the last question is, for whom does the prince send the sapphires and why? So this is the last one question which we have discussed today in the story, and you have to answer this question and write down this answer in your notebook. These students, we have completed the part 1 of the story. Hope you have enjoyed this.